Hey guys, Jason here from Usable Smoke Productions, and in today's video we're going to go over how to get that perfect take using some of the tips and tools that we've discussed in previous videos, such as gain matching, doing a little bit of cut, paste, and crossfading, and using the groups tool to phase align your tracks. All right, so let's recap and cover some of the things that we've done already. This is a project that I've been working on called Shades. And so far, we've done the drums, we've done percussion, we've done accordion, and I just did a couple of takes of bass tonight. So let's take a listen to the introduction here without the bass part. Let's just listen to what we have to work with here. Here we go. Okay, so that gives you just the introduction and a little bit of the verse. Okay, so on to this bass part. All right, so I did a couple takes here, and the way that I did this is, well, first I'm using a Fender Jazz style bass, and I have it um, going into a direct box, and that is going directly into my interface. Um, and there's no EQ, there's no effects or anything like that that we have going on that direct signal. Now, I also have it coming through a Fender Rumble 25 amp. It's a little tiny bass amp, but it gets the job done. It's really good for recording. And I like combining the amp sound with the direct sound. I have them both recorded as mono tracks, and I have them summed to a bus using the track stack feature that we covered in another video. Um, Going into that Fender Rumble amp, I do have a compressor pedal, a fuzz pedal going as well. So I like to blend those two sounds to taste, and this is what we have to work with. All right, now this is just my, also, whoops, I have to remember to keep my microphone going here. So we'll go ahead and solo the bass take one. Just so you can get an idea what it sounds like. All right, so here we go. We'll also use the Waveform Zoom feature up here so that you can see the waveforms a little better. All right, here we go. This is the bass part. Probably going to have to unmute that so you can hear it. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. Okay, so you get the idea. Not a humongously spectacular performance by any means. which is why I recorded a take 2 down here. Okay, so I'm going to solo the take 2 and we'll listen to the same few measures. Okay, so again, not a perfect performance, but generally speaking, I was more happy with take 2 than I was with take 1. That said, um, what I did off camera is I listened to both takes, I soloed them, made note of any imperfections or errors, and I determined that take 2 was a stronger performance. So I wrote down the measures that needed correction, and I could have re-recorded those measures. I could have retracked them, but fortunately, um, take 1, what I did was I went ahead and I um, selected those measures and I copied and I pasted them to a new track uh, that is called Bass DI Best and Fender Rumble Best. Okay, so out of these two takes, I've determined that those measures were going to get copied and pasted to this new part. All right, so let me show you how this works in action. All right, so the first thing that I want to share with you is when I did my takes, because I'm recording an amp with a microphone um, as well as a direct signal, I want to make sure that my waveforms are phase aligned. All right, so let me show you how I did this. Besides making sure that the microphone was an appropriate distance from the amplifier, um, you can still run into some phase issues. So here's a couple things that you can do. You can expand your waveform, and I'm going to go ahead and take that off, move it like this. All right, so now these are pretty gigantic. If I click that, that's probably going to be easier. There we go. Okay, so to make sure that everything's phase aligned, you need to follow the way that the waveforms are lining up. If there's an upward peak followed by a downward peak and the waveforms match, you know it's phase aligned. Sometimes the amplifier might be just a hair after the direct signal or vice versa, depending on your setup. So here's what you can do. You can utilize groups. So I'm going to go ahead and just focus on, let me scroll back here. Okay, so we're going to look at take 1 as an example. And I have grouped take 1, DI, and the Fender Rumble as my bass 1 group. So I'm going to open up these settings. So besides just selecting mute and solo for my own preferences for recording and whatnot, I selected the editing box, which allows you to quantize lock the audio. So what this will do is it will keep your waveforms phase aligned. Of course, you can check this with a correlation meter. There we go. So I'm just going ahead and play this and keep an eye on the meter. If it's phase aligned, everything should be 0 to +1. So, 0 to +1. 1 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 to So there you have it. We are completely phase aligned. Okay, so that's the first thing. It's a really great tool to be able to use your group settings and check that box if you're doing any kind of direct recording as well as miking of an amplifier. This will come in handy as well if you are um, multi-tracking drums, or if you're stereo miking an amplifier or something like that. This will come in very handy. All right, so that was step one, to make sure that we have that phase aligned. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next step, and that is going to be, we found our measures that um, were better from take one compared to take two. So we're happy about that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and copy and paste. I'm going to de-solo that. Copy and paste everything from take two except for these other edits that have been taken from take one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I've got this lined up here. Okay, that is your playhead. So I'm going to go ahead and just line that up like that. And I'm going to shift, right click. I'm going to split at the playhead. And I've already determined that this is in a good spot where I don't have to worry about it cutting a waveform in half or anything like that. So I'm going to copy this and go back to my playhead here, paste it. Oh, I'm going to have to do these one at a time because of my group settings. So copy, paste. Let's go back, copy, paste. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo my best ones here. So what we've got is from measure 1 all the way up to measure 7. That's take 2. When we get to measure 8 and sum of 9, that's going to be from take 1. Let's see what it sounds like. Let's check it out. Okay, so I'm happier with the performance. However, you can tell by listening that take 1 was recorded slightly softer than take 2. I can go ahead and fix that right now by using the gain option in my inspector window here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to use my ears and I'm going to use my eyes. All right, so I'm going to select measure 7 and 8, and I'm just going to loop this here. Okay, so this needs to be brought up a bit. So I'm going to select these two regions, and I'm going to go ahead and boost this. Let's start with 1 dB. You can see it made the waveforms larger. Let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, still not quite there. So I'm going to boost it another dB. We're closer. I'm going to bring it up another dB. We're close. Let's go another half a dB. I think we can go a little more. Okay, that's pretty close. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause my video capture. I'm going to go ahead and do this for every region that I need to correct. And we'll see in a few minutes. And we will take things to the next level here in just a moment. All right, here we go. Okay, we're back. So what I did was went through all of my take two regions, and I split them at the playhead where I had taken my take one alternate, uh, you know, takes, and I measured those out, and they're all copy and pasted together. Now, there weren't that many. There were only a handful of measures in this whole tune. I'm not the world's greatest bass player, so there were about 7 or 8 spots that I needed to do this, and I made sure that I gain matched um, each one of these areas. So I moved them up by 4 dBs, and I used my ears to make sure that the parts were matching well. All right, so we're gonna take a listen to more of the bass part here, and pay attention to where these parts have been combined. And what I tried to do is find, I'm going to go ahead and select the editor. You can also double click on your measure to take a closer look here. But what I tried to do was I tried to find an area that was optimal to cut so that I didn't cut it directly on a transient or in the middle of the waveform. And that usually helps to minimize any kind of popping or artificial sound from cutting and pasting your recordings together. All right, so let's take a listen and we will hear if it sounds reasonably natural. All right, here we go. Got an edit coming up here. Okay, so it sounds pretty good. I'm actually noticing a mistake right now. The reason that sounds so incredibly different is because I copied the same region twice. I should not have done that. Delete that, and we're going to copy this guy over. Okay, now I'm going to have to gain match that. Let's go up 4 dBs. Okay, See what that sounds like now. Okay, that's pretty good. I can't really hear much of a difference. Let's go back to this measure. Okay, now here I heard a little crackle, little pop, right? Okay, so how can I fix that when it occurs? And I haven't listened to this all the way through, but chances are we might hear it again. Let's try this. A little bit there. Yeah. So, how can we make that less noticeable? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my regions, every single one. And we covered this in another video. I'm going to use my crossfade tool. All right, so I'm just going to pick there and fade tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a very small area to crossfade. Just that much should do the trick. Let's hear if we have any of those crackles and pops now. So far, so good. Pretty smooth. Okay, they're gone. So that's pretty good. Now, again, I'll take a much closer listen to all of this before, finalizing it and all that. Once I'm happy with it, there's no reason to keep take one or take two. I've managed to grab the best from both and put them together. Um, so yeah, it sounds pretty good. Pretty happy with it so far. Let's go ahead just for fun and let's hear this in context. All right, so I'm going to mute take one. I'm going to mute take two. And we're left with the best of both. Let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, so pretty happy so far. Again, I'll take a closer look and listen, and we'll polish that up. But that is how I, try to get the perfect take, in one session, in one recording session, if possible. But again, let's be real, time constraints. Sometimes you don't get the best performance possible. That's why I never delete any takes until after I've listened to them multiple times and kind of digested what I'm hearing, and then I can pick the best parts from both. Vocalists do this all the time. They call them comps, right? Where they are recording, multiple takes, and the producer, the mixer, the sound engineer will um, listen to each one of those takes, cut them up, paste them together for the best possible vocal performance. This is really no different than that. So hopefully you found this helpful. If so, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, happy music making. This is Jason from Musical Smoke Productions. We'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.